Judiciary embarked on serious transformation then under Mr. Chief Justice John and Lewis. Fortunately, the current Chief Justice Francis Copper was part of that team. He was the only associate justice that was retained by President Sirleaf from the bench that served under interim leadership of Mr. Julie Bryant. So after the election, that bench had to resign because it was an interim government arrangement, and the president was supposed to form a new bench. And she brought him as the only person there, and he's been there. So the reform process began, and it continued over the last 12 to 14 years under the stewardship or Mr. Justice Copper as Chief Justice. Yes, and one of the fundamental issues that was faced with the judiciary was infrastructure. Because there were a lot of challenges. The courts were being housed in, if not dilapidated buildings, then it were other people's facilities, either the executive facilities. So you will see that if you go, for example, in a county like River G or somewhere, in the town hall, the town hall is the city hall for the executive branch of government, the city government. But you see a little portion of there being set aside for the court to use, or administrative building where the courts were. And it posed a problem. Some places the court were renting individual people's properties. So and it posed a problem on the independence of the courts, because if the court is housed in Sobor George's home and dispensing justice from Sobor George's home, and there are issues coming before the court, and Sobor George has some influence there, sometimes he tells you, my man, you see my way, you're running up here. So but it was some serious problem and the challenges, and you see universally, if you look at where courts are, the environment is made in a way that when party litigants come to court, they must feel comfortable. People must be, when you come to access justice, you must feel comfortable. So yes, there was a serious drive to do some of those restructuring and construct or upgrade some of the courts. So a couple of counties over the period since the current Chief Justice became Chief Justice have experienced or have come with some serious structures. Like in Montserrat County, they had to build a court in Gardnersville, the Magistrate court in Gardnersville. They had to rebuild a court in Bushra Island, what we call Newtown Court. Then they had to build a court in Omega community, because the load at the Painesville town was too huge, and Painesville is very large. So they had to divide that magisterial area into two and build another court in the Omega community. And then we had to go on to Grand Gila County. We built a brand new complex. The judiciary now has a footprint in every county to build a judicial complex. And the complex consists of a main court that houses many of the other courts, like the revenue court, the magisterial court, the debt court. All of them are housed in one area. And also, to some extent, try to put in also the criminal court E, that is specifically for sexual offenses. And then that complex is also supposed to have residences for the judges and all that. So we put one, which is the court building itself in Grand Gila, that was recently commissioned by His Excellency the President. But it is yet to be fully developed in adding the residences of the judges and all that. But Nimba County has a fully completed, it's the model there in Nimba County, where you have the residences of the judges, you have the criminal court E, you have all the courts that's supposed to be in the capital in that complex. We also have some new courts being constructed in Campley and other places in Nimba County. And then Bunk County, we also did the hub, even though it started under the regional security project by the UN and under the former Chief Justice. But then this Chief Justice had to give the model because we have to stick with our designs and how the courts are supposed to be built. And so we did that in Bunk County, and then we built Magisterial Court in Potota, modern Magisterial Court. And so Bunk County also realized some infrastructure development. And then also we have currently going on is Riverside County. We're building also the same complex, and I think it is the most modern thing you can even find in Riverside.
Okay.
Yes, on the in the city of Sisters. Initially I remember that where the court was in Sisters, it was somewhere in the back. Currently what we have using as the court facilities. But when we did the design, and that was where we were going to build it. But I remember when the superintendent, the legislative caucus, and the people of Sister City saw the design of the court, they said, "You can build it in the back there. Gotta be well on the beautiful."
Okay.
so everybody can see at least that this modern structure come to Sister City. So they had to relocate, and find the appropriate place, and that is. And the contractors are doing extremely well going up on that. I understand currently even roofing so that they'll be able to do some work during the rains. And so they are working thanks to the government of Liberia. And most of these projects are funded by the government of Liberia.
Okay.
Even though some of those other magisterial courts were funded by our partners, like Potota, like Vahun, like Campley and Omega, the Swedish government through the UNDP and other partners have helped us to build those facilities. So yes, we are constructing these facilities across the country. River G is a work in progress. We're building a new complex also in River G County.
Okay.
And so yes,
okay,
we're going on.
Now I think you've done extremely well on that, trying to build structures around. Now, it's one thing, Anthony Daram Usman, to build the structures, and another thing to have the men in the structures. Where are we with that?
As a matter of fact, the transformation and the reform on the judiciary since 2005 were holistic. The judiciary did not only look at one aspect,
okay.
Because the reality is that during the war and immediate post-war, that was one of the most crowded branch of government. They had a lot of people, but we had a serious human capacity challenge. All across. And those days, you understand during the conflict, people will employ people, bring their relatives, bring people, not necessarily based on competency, but it was government thing. And that time, not many people wanted to go work in government anyway because
some for political accommodation.
Exactly, and those times, money, pay was not attractive. Talking about even in the counties, the magisterial courts, like the law says that a statutory magistrate must be a lawyer. But it was difficult to have lawyers being statutory magistrates in the counties because, nobody want to go to law school, get through that struggle, and then you go to the counties and then they pay, they probably can't even take you for 1 week. At that time, the government remuneration was not attractive.
Okay.
So the reform, in fact, cardinally, infrastructure was good, but the reform mostly was on human resource capacity building. And there have been a lot of transformation since then, especially since Chief Justice Copper Bench was first to start with his office. You have the court administrator, the office of the court administrator, which is just a branch, a part, it's an arm, an extension of the Chief Justice's office. The Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary. And so he has an administrative function and also the legal function in sitting on the Supreme Court bench.
Okay.
And those are separate and distinct. And
two major functions.
two very major functions. When you're sitting in the judicial function on the Supreme Court bench, it's different when you're running the administration, and you can imagine the load. So we had to, by law, restructure that office to step it up and make it, a more prominent arm of the Chief Justice's office. We got an amazing administrator, Councillor Elizabeth Nelson, a consummate professional. She ensures that, well, you got to be there. So the human resource transformation started. Started to recruit based on competency. Not only that, the judiciary started to train people who were there through the Judicial Institute. Put some training of the staff, the local staff, the judges, the magistrates. I'm sure you heard about our JR program, our Associate Magistrate Training Program for university graduates. Because interestingly, across the country before, even some of the magistrates did not even complete high school, but nobody was there to go to the court, so they were just there. And so the Supreme Court decided no, at least since the stipendary magistrate, who's the head of the court, has to be a lawyer, but the associate magistrates, at least the minimum criteria we can set is a university graduate. So we recruit university graduates, they sit the exams and things, and then they go through those training to become magistrate. And now they are redeployed in those counties, which has seen tremendous change in the way justice is administered now based on the rule of law and the books. And so even in administration, a lot of training continues to go on. And today's also, I'll tell you that, the challenge is where now we have people who went to the judiciary as bailiffs or as janitors. We call them caretakers in our institution. We don't call them janitors, we call them caretakers. The maintenance people, I believe I call them the people that matter. You go into the Temple of Justice building now, or almost every court across the country you enter, you will not see people lying on the floor. You can enter any bathroom. You can, it is, and those are the people for me that matter. But you'll be surprised that people went there before, some of them barely high school graduates, but now I know of some of them who now have graduated from the university, and now in the structure of the civil service, we can't even either step them up or find another placement because the desire to improve their education, to improve themselves, and I see that as a positive thing, as great human potential waiting to be deployed, and I think that's a great thing that has happened. So yes, the human capacity building, we are not there fully, but I think it has been a great change over the period of time. We have serious professionals now working at the judiciary, taking their job seriously, and I think that's a great mark of in the time. People don't see these kinds of transformation, human transformation. As I always said, even when I was on radio, people don't see it. Many people want to see, especially many of our leaders, they want to see tangible things. To invest in human beings. Mostly in Liberia, we don't see that. We think that we must think that people see something. But if you build the capacity and the quality of the human beings will build the quality of the state. All right. But if we focus only on the material things that people will see and don't pay attention to the human development, people who build those things and don't know how to value them, and they may all be destroyed. So the judiciary tried to build both of them together in ensuring that there's serious quality in the dispensation of justice.
Okay, you're listening to the SMS, written on the OBC 99.9 and other frequencies across Liberia. Our studio guest is the Communication Director of the Judiciary, Anthony Alora Darrow Ambuskuma. Now, how has the issue of your infrastructure development, the issue of capacity building, how has it been able to change your whole narratives about the delay in handling cases?
As I said, this is a work in progress. The issue of case being prolonged in the judiciary it is not just a one-off issue that you can just put a finger on. You know, there are many actors in the justice system, and I think people need to understand.
Sure.
There are a lot of actors in the justice system. The law is always the law, and it's always there as to the period and the time that cases are supposed to be in courts. So the judge is sitting there, right? The court does not go out to look for cases. But so I can tell you, since I've been at the judiciary, I can tell you almost 80% of the delays in the cases in the judiciary is us lawyers.
The lawyers.
It's not the court, it's us lawyers. Look, I have come to realize in the practice of law, look, so but there's nothing to call a small case. There is no small case. Every case is as important as it is for a human survival and human life. But you know, for example, you have a criminal matter, right? The police may do an investigation, and they may send it to the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice will decide, okay, they're going to prosecute. They'll bring the case, they will bring the person to court for the first time, you know, arraign the person in court the first time. The person will be put, because based on the gravity of the crime, or maybe the person cannot post the bail to be released or something like that, the person may be put into remand prison. And then they will never come back. The lawyers that are supposed to prosecute the case will not come back to the court. You have to come back to the court and say, now I put my case, I'm ready to prosecute my case, I need a date for assignment to bring the case. Many people just leave the people there and go do different things. They go to another case, they leave another to go to another case. And you see, the judge is not the one to say that, somebody, but your brother on a case here two months ago, what happened to you? Anyone can do your case. That's not the judge's, because every day there are cases coming to the judge.
Sure.
Every other day there's another case. You understand? So it is the lawyer that will come and make the assignment for the case to be heard. You understand? And look, if you look at it, many people will tell you that the indigents, many of the people who don't have money, every time you hear the Chief Justice talk about the pre-trial detention, you know, that is a serious concern. But it is not with the courts.
Okay.
All right? Even the court has tried to...
But being the head of the judiciary, Ambrose, has he not found a way to address this, maybe with the Bar Association and others? Because I'm sure he has presented papers at the Bar conventions before.
So the thing is that there's what we call in our country, you know, we have separation of powers. The powers of prosecutors is the executive power. It's not that for the courts. The court is the one who adjudicates. They sit there and listen to the case. So the Chief Justice cannot go to the Attorney General and mandate the Attorney General to do his job. The only thing the Chief Justice can do is raise the issue. And I know that even the Attorney General now, Councillor Musadin, also has that concern. In fact, what the Judiciary had done to try to speed up these things from the magisterial level is to quote what we call the magistrate sitting program. Now we have magistrates going from the magistrate court into the central prison to do fast track cases of those who have been there. But now another issue is that most of the pre-trial detainees are no longer under the jurisdiction of the magistrate courts. So maybe they brought them to the magistrate court. For example, you bring the person to the magistrate court and accuse them of rape. The magistrate can't do anything, they just have to transfer that case to the court E.
Okay.
You accuse the person of maybe murder or some higher crime that is beyond the jurisdiction of the magistrate court. So the magistrate will not hear the first thing and say, well, it's beyond us, so we transfer it to the circuit court. But then that's where it gets stuck. And then, look, every day when the magistrate releases 10 persons, before the day finish, 15 persons going mad.
Can you imagine that?
You release another 20, before the day finishes, another 25 will go there. Because, and that's what the Chief Justice says, look, sometimes in a dispensation of justice, the lawyers, the court, even the magistrate, because it is the judge also has the discretion to grant bail.
Sure.
Sometimes it's not with the person bringing a bill or bringing money or all sorts of things to pay the bond or anything, but sometimes what we call self-recognizance. All right? Now, the person can, maybe two people were fighting in a community. All right, so you brought the person to court. Yeah, but you know that when you put a person in jail until the case is done, what's the essence? They call the community chairman. Look, when we release the people to you, ensure that there will be no problem.
You handle the matter
yes, until they're ready for the case. Anytime we're ready for the case, we bring the person, yes, so that you don't overcrowd the prison. Certain things that you do, but the delay of those on the criminal aspect, it will be for the lawyers, the prosecutors to always come forward with their cases.
Okay.
To do that. The civil aspect is almost the same. So somebody will tell you, say, I have a land issue. In the position I serve, sometimes when people are getting frustrated with the system, they come to my office. Some people go online, and if I'm on telephone, people call me from the States, because on the website, unfortunately, this time in our structure, we don't have the landline. Companies have your landline, like you have your phones your text phones in there. So to contact the judiciary, they have to call me.
Okay.
And people tell you, say, that my case has been in the court for many years now. My lawyer just there, they say the judge didn't want to sign the case. So I said, you got to speak to your lawyer. It's your lawyer who has to go to the judge and make the assignment for the case. But you realize that even I have seen in the Supreme Court many times, Supreme Court has said, okay, this case has been in this court for a long time. They assign the case to come, the lawyer not ready. They call the case, the lawyers come there and say, Your Honor, you have to give your time, I was doing different. They just leave people cases. And I believe for us lawyers, it's something we got to take serious, because the person may not be paying you millions of dollars. But even if you accept $5 for that case, do the case to the end.
Okay.
But I have seen that sometimes the person paying me only $200 for the case. Yeah, the case in the court, I leave it there. But the other person paying me $1,000. Let me focus on the $1,000 main case and focusing on the other $1,000, and then you forget the other person's case.
How is it branding the whole justice system, especially with the whole delay? That's, like you said, 20%. And the lawyers are responsible for 20% of some of the delays.
I said most of the cases are delayed, because the point is that unfortunately it is the court that gets the blame. And we don't. What they should. We should get the blame. Yeah, but it is the court.
I agree with you.
Because you see, all the people understand is that when they talk about justice system, it's the court.
That the court, surely.
And that is why I also appreciate when we do the jury orientation. By law, when the jurors come, when they educate them and they see the role they have to play. Because all the librarian people know, for example, you say you accuse the man of stealing. They bring the man to the court. The man is entitled to bail. That's the law. And now the court made the law.
It's a billable crime.
It's a billable crime. So the man come and post this bill. The next day they see the man walking and say, oh, but the judge now collapsed money for that man. See, the man walking. But you don't know the law says the man can be put on bail. Either he bring an insurance bond, or he bring a cash bond, that he can be put on bail. And people will sign for him that when the case is ready, that person will be, unless, even if it is bailable, unless the judge in his wisdom sees that, look, even though this is bailable, but I will not grant this man bail, because maybe when I grant him bail, go by in that community, the community may attack him. Or he may cause more problems. All right? But most of the crimes committed are bailable offenses. The people will not understand that. All right? Now some people are being affected by those alleged criminal activities. So they are the victims. Sometimes too, they are sitting there and then they see the person moving around and they think nothing is going on. But it is not the court. Even though the person is on bail, but it's left with the prosecutor now to come and assign the case for that case to be heard. Then the prosecutor, someone will tell you too that, look, we carry the case to court. The people who are affected will call them to come be witness. They don't want to come to the court again. So what will do? They don't want to come to court. You who's supposed to be the witness, when we say, can't I go to court? They say, no, me, I won't be there. So the people can mark my face and say, but you can't testify. You understand? So it's a whole challenge. But again, it is, I believe that it is continuous education and awareness, enlightenment. Because our people have a right.
Sure.
Like I always say, if you have a relative and that person has been accused of a crime, and that person is in jail for more than 6 months, and that person has not gone through the court process. Look, I know people can say they get money, find $300, $400 from your family. Go find one lawyer. And tell them, say, you know what happened? My brother or my son or my father has been in jail. They say he did this thing, but we didn't do it. But he been in jail now for more than 6 months. And nobody not getting to court. They never hear the case. Because the law says after 2 terms of court and consecutive terms of court and at 6 months, if you don't hear the court, the lawyer can come for that man, tell the judge, say, this man just drop the case, let him go free because the state has refused to prosecute. That's what the law says.
Now,
many people don't know that.
Now, Anthony and Lord Darrell, you seem to want to clear the judiciary out of the whole aspect, the blame that cases are often delayed. But again, you run the courts and you take in people who commit violators of the law, and you remand them to the prison. You send them to prison. So how can you in another word try to excuse yourself from the delays that more often go through, because the issue of pre-trial detainees, if you know that the problem is from the lawyers, then why do they accept people and throw them behind bars and the state for all of those?
So the first thing is, no, I cannot exonerate the judiciary, because I mean, I have been fortunate to have experience, in many of the other countries, the judicial system, how it works. Even the United States Supreme Court, and to my satisfaction, this is some of the things that our Supreme Court has started to do, to look at the cases that have been long and just assign the cases.
Okay.
I believe strongly that we need to build the capacity of the courts, that it will be taking what we call sua sponte, take initiative and look at the files. As the cases come, you assign them.
Okay.
All right, so that lawyers can come and do their cases.
Lawyers wouldn't show up. What happens?
Well, there are remedies. There are remedies. The court can penalize lawyers.
Or dismiss the case.
You can dismiss the case, or you can, like the Supreme Court would do, say, will pass upon the records. They will take the case and say, okay, send the lawyers in, won't come. They read the thing because it's what you write. It's not what you come in to say. It's what you write. They look at it and make a determination. All right. Or in the lower courts, you can dismiss the case for failure to proceed if the lawyers don't want to proceed. You understand? But you got to assign those cases. But then also, you look at the capacity. So I think that I stand to be corrected. But I think this is our country, that the only place I have seen that even at the circuit court level, the judges don't even have aides, legal aides. When I talk about legal aid, they don't have legal clerks. They don't have people who help them research the law. So, and then our court system is not fully digitized.
Okay.
I have been to Ghana, I've gone to the US, I've seen places. Most of the places now, you see the microphone that we're speaking on, what we did with ELBC, everything we talk here has been recorded, right? You go most of the courts now, that's how it is. So the stenographer or the person who's taking notes is just doing shorthand, but the recording is there for them to put the full records together.
Okay.
So the case is not slowed. You go to our courts, we have people who are manually typing.
That's
So
unlawful.
when you put a witness on the stand, you say, Mr. Witness, what is your name? They make a wait. You may type that, Mr. Witness, what is your
Can you
name?
imagine that?
And you say, answer. When I make call, my name is John Brown. You make a type it, my name is John Brown. That's how we're still going.
Manual operation.
So you can imagine how long it would take to end one case.
Yeah.
But you go to the other countries, the people, the cases are there, they're talking because it's being recorded, that the secretarial staff can take that recording out and make the records for the court. We have not gone to that level. Also in our country, judges have to sit down now, listen to the case, go and do their own research on the case to come and write their judgment. In most of the other countries, they have law students or even lawyers who are clerks to those judges. So they do the research on the case, they do everything, and even draft the judge's judgment, that the judge can look at the research and authenticate that this is what it is. That we have to the Supreme Court. But even to the Supreme Court, you'll be amazed at how many law clerks. The justice can only afford one law clerk. I've never gone to any Supreme Court before that justice get only one law clerk. The other one or two researchers, but only one law clerk. The budget can allow you to employ. So when you see the load of cases, so when you stay on one case, because the case has to do with people's lives,
Surely.
people's property,
Reputation.
people's reputation. So when you stay on one case, you got to make sure you do it. So that's also the slow. That's contributing to the justice system grinding slowly.
So has the Chief Justice ever thought about trying to see how our court system can be digitized?
Everything we have talked about, even in the strategic plan of the judiciary, everything, but then it comes to resources. We all know, in fact, if you look at the budget, it's an open document.
That's our next question.
You look at the budget, it's an
Funding to
open
the
document. Oh boy. The judiciary is the last. I mean, when you look on the list, in the 3 branches, they get the least funding. I mean,
Why?
it is, I don't know. The framers of the budget will better say that, but you know, and the law is different, because the law says, well, it is the Chief Justice who knows how the judiciary is run. So it's the Chief Justice that sets the judiciary budget and sends it to the legislature. It doesn't even send it to the Ministry of Finance. But on the contrary, it's the Ministry of Finance that sets the budget that the judiciary is supposed to operate on. And what we have is what you
So
all
what is the
those
budget? What is the
resources-
budget size of the judiciary?
Currently, I wouldn't know
Okay.
offhand.
Okay.
I don't want to, you know, but I know that within the 3 branches, the judiciary is the least when it comes to the budget. I wouldn't know the figure offhand, but Sobo, when we talk about dispensation of justice, these are the things. Because, for example, I have fancied the idea in my mind. Okay, so we have law students, right? What will happen if their last year of law school, in the last semester, for example, or the last year, you assign the law students to different judges in the circuit courts on a periodic basis, so that they go and read, because it's part of their research, how to research the law, how to draft judgments to help the judges. Because otherwise, it's a Herculean thing. People think the judge can just sit there. It's not easy to listen to a case and then you alone. So how many cases the judge will listen to in the term, and when will he come back from, and the term is just 42 days. So how many cases he will listen to, and when will he come back with the judgment within those 42 days? So most of the time you see the judge can listen to at most 5 cases. If he's done 5, then he's done a great job. You understand? One thing to have a trial, the case is slow because of our system. It's not digitized. And sometimes, you know, it will just take these computers and these networks with a card on it, and that's it. And modernize the system. But it costs money. We don't have it in the budget.
You're listening to the SMS. That's the spokesperson. That's the communication director of the judiciary, Anthony Law Daros Ambu Ma. He's our guest right here on the SMS. Now, before we take this open the lines, is the Chief Justice thinking about quitting now? I know he got about 3 months. Is he still, you know, you still believe that, you know, he's not quite pleased at the though yeah, he's really leaving, but he's not quite pleased because
How you know you're not pleased?
No, I'm just asking. I'm asking you.
How you know you're not pleased?
That's my question I'm asking.
12 midnight, September 5.
You be
12 midnight.
You'll be exiting.
12 midnight, September
He will
5.
exit.
He will no longer be Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia.
And does it feel comfortable?
12 midnight, September 5. Yes, he does. That's
And you
the
see,
law.
he has made, you know, tremendous effort and the successes that I think that people
listen.
can't afford more.
Listen, you know, the Chief Justice is still strong. He's still very, sharp in the law. But that's what our Constitution says. It's not like the other country, like the United States. You serve until you are incapacitated, because they believe the older you are and the longer you stay on the bench, the more wisdom you have.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can just look at a case come in, because you have done it over and over, you just know it speeds it up. That's not what our Constitution says. It says at 70 they should leave. So yes, when you are working and you are building a system and you think you can offer more, but that's what, and other people will come and continue. So he is upbeat. He believes that with what God has given him to do, he has done his part.
Okay.
And there's no way that I know he's going to do otherwise. And that's why I'm confident and tell you that 12 midnight, September 5,
He retired.
he's gone.
0776-540.
1 minute after 12 on September 6th, Francis Papa will now be Chief Justice.
That's good. Good morning. Yes, let's hear from you quickly. Let's hear from you.
And somebody had to raise that concern, and most of the judges. But what about those who even have the cases there? Say, for example, the analogy he was making, they put somebody in jail, and they put somebody in jail, so it means that person is a victim. How would the supporter or the parent or whosoever of that person has to be praying on the court every day for that case to be assigned? And if the prosecutor can't come, it will put pressure on the court.
Okay.
But the both parties will go lay down, and the feel that or will come down to make judgment for the court. I think you're not supposed to be that. Thank you so much.
Many thanks. Let's take this call on the line quickly. This caller is there. Okay, the caller is off the line. 0776-540-987. That's the alternative line, or better still, 0880-514-096. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to your speaker guest.
Let's hear from you quickly.
Well, my name is Spring Smith, and I call from Kingswood Juba this morning. I want to ask the students, which of the cases that the Chief Justice ever regrets that he never had total oversight or that he has a regret for? And what is most cases that you've actually presided over that he's actually had satisfactory to? Thank you for the opportunity.
Many thanks. He's taking note to respond to that. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sluggo, and good morning to the person of Liberia.
Okay.
My name is Opi Oni Johnson, and I joined the conversation with the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau in Dokume this morning. Well, let me appreciate the brother Darren Campbell's for his legal presentation this morning. And I really want to get his side, especially with regards to the Bureau of Corrections and Rehabilitation. What he take, whether the big government should see it necessary to make the Bureau of Corrections actually an autonomous agency. And lastly, what is his take on the issue of pre-trial detention? Because the overcrowdedness at the Bureau of Corrections and Rehabilitation is as a result of people cases not being tried, especially wherein they were being accused, but then those people have not had their time in court. Thank you.
Many thanks. Let's take this call on the line. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
My name is Nathaniel K. CEO of the Civil Bar Association in Liberia, Super Shot. I listened to the show this morning. I'm glad that Abu Bakr had to, say there is the days for the transformation at the system that we were there to go.
Okay.
I'm deploying for the mental. But I want to ask one simple question
quickly.
To him. What are some people that basically can get a benefit? How many other do they cost to find a bond or somebody at the food when you're taking the food?
Okay, many thanks. Let's take this call on the line quickly. Councillor Wisse is he's on this line. Let's try to get him quickly. Yes, Councillor, good morning, Mr. Minister.
Good morning to my colleague in the Mr. Man.
Morning, Councillor.
I appreciate Mr. Man for his deliberation. I just want to make an input that when it comes to the issue of assignment of cases, that should only be left with lawyers. They just sitting in the court, they are also assigned a criminal matter. I just want to make that clear.
But Councillor, hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. Well, let me get your thought on this. You listen to Anthony Ma. He said, most of the cases that are delayed, just on the shoulders of the lawyers. They are responsible. Do you agree to that?
I agree with you, but this is why the judge too should also assign cases because there's no way in the law that still a judge can assign a case. This is why I want to commend John Willis. He don't always assign cases. He don't really assign cases because one of the cases I assign, and you still to go to court the lawyer, the judge can place that individual on view. Because is that what I don't say that should be coming to court assigning cases? And the issue of prison work right now I agree with you because the low picks also judges want to late 30s or late 30s. And so that the first happening to another will not be ready. But I think the judges too should also impose the assignment cases because there are people in jail who rather be violated. So the code is the code of law, also the code to ensure that justice is done. So if it's an SSC and the case on the docket, the judge should assign the case.
Okay.
Only the law should do that, should be party to assign. I just want to make that clear.
Many thanks. Let's take this call on the line. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
We'll take 2 more calls and wrap it up. Yes, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so thank you very much for this show. And I also like to appreciate the communication surrender. Yeah. Mr. Man, I beg you, first of all, I sorry for judging them and see my friends in Mandalore. Yeah, it's just right in your foot. Because the transport is, let's say, a criminal or somebody who will send you for your sector. It's very, very costly. So I beg you, if you are this time, it's good now. It's just in the city. Thank you very much.
Okay, many thanks. Let me take this call on the line quickly. This last caller. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is VNV and I call for my child.
Let's hear from you, VNV.
Good morning, Dr. Man.
Why you laugh?
Oh, V, I hear them there for a long time.
Yeah.
I just want Dr. Man to speak on the judiciary school, the requirements, and when do they enroll candidates.
Okay. Let me take this last one quickly, and then I'll wrap it up. Go back to Darren's mind to give us his take on some of those things that have been asked. Good morning.
Good morning, Sobot, and good morning to Coach Manela Biren. My name is Abraham Political Budget, and I call for the most talk about what I've been doing this morning. Thank you for bringing Mr. Darrell Ombudsman in studio in educator and laws. I think within the public and the human capacity transformation is so much important. I listened to the success story of the Chief Justice. I think the Chief Justice, one of the cases I will always remember the Chief Justice for during the 2017 election when people were party started the election result. Instead of rerun, instead of run, or they came out with the decision. So it's a cruise plane. They got a blessing. Think of an opportunity.
Many thanks. Well, let's go back to our studio guests to respond. We are not taking any more calls. Let's go back to our studio guests to respond, and then we take leave of him. Yes.
Thank you. Let me thank all the callers and those who could not get through to the line. I know that it is important to do that, but quickly, let me try to run through, starting from under. But first, before I would, let me agree with Councillor Wise, and that's why I was saying that the Supreme Court has started to do that they have started to assign cases that have been long on the docket. I think the court should start to sponte and assign those cases so that lawyers are put on duty to do what they're supposed to do. Maybe when the court starts to do that and lawyers are not prepared, and they start to penalize those lawyers, then we'll get serious with the work that we have to do. Okay. But also, I believe strongly also it comes to capacity. I think we need to start thinking about building the capacity also in the circuit courts especially, that by giving them either researchers or people to help them in that legal aspect. I know they have clerks and other people who are there in the office, but those are not the people who do research for the law. Okay. So I hope that they can look at that and currently, the court is even doing a case management system that has been developed by the UNDP to track cases. And that's part of the system to track those cases and see how long the case has stayed in the court. V1V, the magistrate training program at the Judiciary Institute, this year, as you've seen, we have not conducted a new class because they're doing an assessment of the last few batches that has been done, but most of the time also that program is funded by our partners. When you train the magistrates and you assign them to court, you got to put them on payroll.
Yeah, surely.
So we have not yet had a consistent budget allocation for that. Yes, we need more trained magistrates across the country, but the criteria is you have to be a university graduate, and you come and sit, you apply, you sit an exam, you pass the exam, and once you've passed that exam, you can be enrolled in the program. But the program is on suspension now because we are evaluating first and are still looking for partners to fund and help us to support that program. Mamalu, I think you're absolutely right. I'm sure, I hope that my bosses are listening, but if they are not, I'm going to take it there. But again, it has to go to the central government in building a court in Johnsonville. I think Johnsonville is a large community, especially with the road works now. There are a lot of people moving in that area. But again, you have to build a court, and then you have to employ people to go to the court, so it comes back to government budget.
Manpower as well.
Yes, but I think Johnsonville is a growing community, and that's a good concern. And not ask how much to file a bond. Not, it depends on what the issue is. Normally, if it is a criminal case that involves money, say somebody stole money from you. If somebody stole $10,000 from you, the bond will be 1.5 times that amount. So you have to have about 20,000 or 25,000 as a bond. So it will be 1.5 times that amount. So about 15,000 you have to put as a bond, either in insurance or in cash bond. So it depends on what it is. And some of the billable offenses is not about even posting the bond. As I said, you got self-recognition. Somebody says, Sober George did this to me, he cares Sober George, and the community know, okay, Sober George on his own recognition, we don't think he will run away from this country. We think we trust that he will come for the case, so we'll release him to the Director General LBS. Anytime we want somebody, you bring him and say, yes, they can release you on that, depending on what the case is. I cannot appeal, unfortunately, I cannot speak to the autonomous status of the Bureau of Corrections, because the Bureau of Corrections is strictly under the executive branch of government.
Okay.
Yes, I know in many countries, in fact, in the U.S., the prisons are privately owned. The government pays for the people to be there. So, but I don't know about Liberia, and I can't speak directly to that. Prince asks which of the cases the Chief Justice regrets not having oversight on. None of them. The Chief Justice does not regret not having oversight on any of the cases. You see, that's why I said the administrative aspect we spoke about a lot today. But the legal aspect, when the Supreme Court bench sits down, each of the 5 justices have independent votes. The Chief Justice does not have oversight over the 5 justices when they are deciding a case. In the parliamentary system, they will tell you the speaker, maybe the speaker cannot vote. He only breaks the tie. It is not like that in the judiciary system. Wow. Everybody casts one vote. So there have been cases where the Chief Justice are even falling on the minority side.
Okay.
And he has disagreed, but the majority is what the Supreme Court says. There have been cases that he doesn't agree with the majority, and he has stood on the dissent, but he's not the person who makes the law. So the majority is always there. So I believe the man I know, he makes his decision based on his conviction of the law and what he believes he knows about the law. So whether he agrees with the case or disagrees with the majority, it is his conviction. So I don't think he has expressed any regrets. And of course, Brian Tati talked about the delay in cases, which we have extensively gone over. And I think that it is a work in progress. But like Councillor Wisa said, if us lawyers and even the court itself begin to push the lawyers to do what they have to do, I'm sure we can start to, and maybe some innovation in the law. Maybe some innovation in the law, because I reading the law, I have had some experience. Sometimes you look at where you are. Sorry, let me just say it quickly. I have had some experience looking at where you are. For example, even from district courts in the United States, lawyers don't appear before the judge. You file your pleadings. The other person file, you return. The lawyer look at it. The judge read it. They say on the record, you read it, because they say arguments for the court. I read the pleadings. The judge read the pleadings and make a determination on the case and send a ruling out. Not every case you hear lawyers coming to court. They just file what they have to file, because your pleadings is what speaks for you. But sometimes maybe it is the coming to court, and sometimes when they come to court, we may delay 30 days. We ask for postponement. We ask for this. Sometimes I believe the judges should just start thinking on ruling on the records.
Okay.
And then it will fast track, especially when we go into elections. Some of the election cases, you wonder why they both spend too many months talking to witnesses, when all the records will just show you that, yes, they didn't happen, or they didn't happen. You move on the records, and sometimes you expedite the case.
Well, many thanks, Antoine Allo, Darrell Ombudsman. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for taking time off a busy schedule to appear on the SMS this morning.
So you're welcome.
Your brief shower, huh?
Thank you for keeping it up, and again, I'm well pleased, and I must say, congratulations to Estelle. Like Ledger who said, I was listening when they were doing the how you call it?
The launch.
Yes, when you were dedicating all the facilities, and like he said, it would have been the typical Liberian mentality. A new person come, new game. Move all the other things that everybody has done. It gladdens my heart today, seriously, to see the vision we had for this place, the vision we had to put a new structure, and I hear everything is still going on.
Yeah, sure.
And even these programs are still going on. It shows that when you work together as a team, and I'm sure that's what is happening here.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Renning, Madam Honda, myself, Mr. Young, I think, and the people here will work as a great team. We saw a vision, and I'm glad that we have younger people who have come and seen that vision, and they continue with it. The only posterity will also speak for Estelle and her team when they also pass the baton on to others.
Many thanks, Darrell.